Hello.
Yeah, Vamsi, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys, for all joining me today for this session on customer engagement on WhatsApp. So I'll just start off, and whoever has some questions, I would suggest that you just make a note of it unless it's very urgent, so that we have time for discussion towards the end of the session. Yeah. So just to build some context, we just remember, right, when we were kids, the either you go to the bank or later days onwards, we started to call the banks. First, we used to go to the state bank and go to the teller counter. Then we started calling the banks, and eventually it was websites which took over between 90s and 2010. And then since mobile apps have come, we use mobile apps as the primary source. Now, Axis Bank, ICICI, HDFC, everything. Now, in the same way, the future will be more of virtual private assistants who will help us with all our transactions. That is where the conversational AI is going to go. That would be the first order of customer engagement in the future. It has started now, and it is transforming, and it will eventually become a sizable reality in near future, maybe in a couple of years. Yeah. So that is the context. We leverage all the previous technologies and build the AI upon that. That's where we are headed towards. Now, what makes WhatsApp so attractive? This is something, I mean, most of us know, because if we are sitting here and spending this time, WhatsApp is one big factor. But just to recap, what makes WhatsApp so attractive is that as of now, these are February March 20 statistics. 2 billion users globally, 1.6 billion use it at least once in a month, 96 million downloads in February 20 itself, just in 1 month. WhatsApp is used across 180 countries, and the biggest loss is China, where it's not used. And India is the largest market for WhatsApp, surprisingly, 340 million users. In the US, Facebook Messenger is the main contender, and WhatsApp is a little behind. 65 million messages are sent daily on WhatsApp, and 53% of users in the US use at least once in a month. Now, when we are saying in the US, in India, it's much higher. And 5 million WhatsApp business accounts are there. So that's why I think we are all discussing about WhatsApp and how we can leverage this platform, and that is why Facebook has acquired it. So, having said that, what would be the future? And what are the possibilities of WhatsApp? There's an interesting video one of my clients, who is also a junior, has shared with me, and I would like to show that to you. It's just a minute. I'm not sure some of you would have seen this already, but nevertheless, given the context, it makes sense to see it once. I hope you all can see my screen. Yeah. So that's an interesting video, right? That's what we can do with WhatsApp. We can do all that. You can put your catalog, you can go through the sales, and what makes WhatsApp attractive is that they need not download your app or go to your .com site and do all this. This is WhatsApp, a platform which they are using. And we can create the same kind of experience what you have seen, be it in WhatsApp, be it on Facebook Messenger, or on your website or on a mobile app. But WhatsApp makes it special because it has so much of user base. Right? So, having said that, WhatsApp is all that sexy and nice, and you have so many billions of users waiting there to be interacting with you through WhatsApp. So, there are some caveats or there are some limitations which are important to understand. Uh, just a check, is everybody able to hear me or anything? I need some little bit of feedback on that.
We can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So please raise a hand or something in case I'm going too slow, too fast, but we'll have opportunity to discuss any questions or discussion points towards the end. But in between, if something is so quick or urgent, please feel free to stop me. Yeah, coming back, what are the restrictions when we are going the WhatsApp route? And there are certain limitations of WhatsApp features which will be a bottleneck for the AI to function. And what are the kind of capabilities you have in your conversational AI when you're going to WhatsApp? So these are the things which are not told, which are not documented. You can only discover when you start working on it. And because we do this for our clients, we understood these things, and I'm sharing with you guys. The restrictions on push messages. WhatsApp assumes that the users have consented to receive messages from you. Now, if you know my WhatsApp number, you can message me as a friend. I can block you. But if you have a business account and you keep messaging me and some 10, 15 people block you, then your business number will be put on hold or it will be blocked. It can be temporary, then you have to access them, ask them to release, and all. It's very cumbersome. Right? So WhatsApp assumes it is meant for one-to-one confidential communication, encrypted communication between two users. So they don't want general commercial bombardment on that. So WhatsApp expects your targeted audience has consented to receive messages from you. You can send only certain kind of messages from your WhatsApp business account. What kind of the messages? You can send notifications like your payment is through or your product has been shipped or you'll receive the product on so and so date, or your account is active, or thank you for joining us, like that. Alert something like you have a notification, please do something, or your account is expiring, please do something, or any updates. Now, what you cannot send in terms of push messages are any promotional messages, videos, audios, etc. Now, how does WhatsApp control this? For each of these messages, you have to get an approval from WhatsApp as a templated message. You can only send those templated messages. And once you send the template message, if the customer pings you, even if you don't send any message, and the customer has your WhatsApp business account number, and the customer pings you for 24 hours, you are free to send the promotional messages or anything. 24 hours since the time he has first contacted you or responded to you. Okay. That is a restriction we have to work with, and limitations on features. See, this is a live chat window of our own platform. This is our own live chat software where we give these buttons, this media, and these media are horizontally scrollable. And these buttons are, what you say, sticky buttons. I mean, you say then unit type and size. Then you say, hang on for a second, and you discuss something. And then you go ahead and click RERA. It will still work. So the same thing works. Fintosh is again our own mobile platform. It's a virtual financial assistant which is built on True Voice platform. And here also the same thing happens. You can say tax calculation, then you keep going, discussing. It remembers the context, and then you go back and say plan investments. It still understands. But in WhatsApp, what happens is when you want to give buttons or options, now, not to be confusing, these buttons and options, what you see here, are only for guided conversations. Irrespective of that, a person can type a free message and still converse. But sometimes you just want to use those options also so that you help the customers to go to the point quickly. Right? So that is the context. But when you come to WhatsApp, you can't give buttons. So what you give is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. I mean, you have to fix. Now, what happens is in this time, if somebody, this is a yoga institute which is using our WhatsApp bot. Now, next time, if he asks, for example, someone says unit type and size, instead of that, they say type 1. And next time they type 1, the 1 may not be relevant. So they have to use the fresh menu every time. I hope you got my point. And in any case, somebody can ask me if they don't get it, or we can again address it towards the end. So when you don't have buttons, and when you don't have buttons which are rich, now these kind of buttons you get in Telegram, these kind of buttons you get in many other applications, but in WhatsApp you don't get. You get the numbers. Now a person can, in our bot, a person can type Angamadana also or a Surya Kriya also, but in many templated bots they still have to go by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 only. Now that will make a little bit like an IVR. Okay. Now, these are some limitations on the features. Now, about the capabilities. There are many bots out there which are templated or hard-coded conversations. Like we just saw how WhatsApp 1, 2, 3. If a person has to select 1, 2, 3 options, now how is it different from an IVR? Right? They fail to provide any real engaging interactions, because then you can as well do it on a mobile app or on your website, which are more rich GUI rather than giving a small chat window. Right? So that is also from the business point of view, it is very cumbersome to maintain, because every time you change something, you just have to go to the node and template and drag and drop and retrain the whole stuff, etc. Now, self-serve bots can also be very expensive, because there are many self-serve bots. They will expect you to train your own LLUs. And when you train your own LLUs, I mean, you keep training and you expect it to work. And you get an error, you again train it and you expect it to work. So it's a kind of undefined timeline, or it can be frustrating. There are people who keep training for 6 months to 1 year. I know some very big clients who do that. And at the end of it, I mean, they may give up the whole project or they may settle for something very simple and narrow. Right? And maintaining the templates, the nodes, and dragging down the decision trees and all, it takes quite a bit of time, and you will really have to deploy resources. And they have to learn the tool. And then they will have their own learning curves and other things, overheads, etc., which will actually translate to increasing cost of ownership. And when you go for certain conversational AI, be it on WhatsApp, suppose if you create a customer engagement in WhatsApp and your customers are also engaging with you on Facebook, they're also engaging with you on your website. And if you have a mobile app which is chat enabled, they can engage with you there also. Now, it is important that you provide similar options or similar customer experience across the different channels. Otherwise, it can be very confusing for the customer to adjust each time from channel to channel. At least they would expect the same kind of flow to continue. And in terms of capabilities, as I've shown you about the buttons, there is a context awareness the bot can have. There is a pronoun disambiguation. Like sometimes the customer say, okay, I want to go with that. Now, most bots or many bots you see can't understand that or this, etc. That is called pronoun, because for a machine, it doesn't understand. The machine has to come and clarify what that, or it should associate what that or this referred to. So these are the things which are just beyond machine learning, which I mean is a little kind of gray area. Many people don't understand. In fact, it is surprising. Someone asked me, "Do you do TensorFlow or do you do deep learning networks to do your bot?" That's a very narrow or uninformed view, because machine learning is one small part of the whole thing. And domain and process agnostic bots are always better, because as a business, we keep changing our needs. Once you hard code or once you put a template to sales process, customer process, or whenever the process changes, or you model the process according to what the bot allows, or whenever your process changes, you have to change the bot. So that kind of hard-coded or templated bots are typically cumbersome and particularly not effective in the long run. And that is why conversational AI platforms are better, whether you use WhatsApp or any other channel. And as you can understand, some platforms or Google Dialogflow, Watson, and there are few which are actually platforms. Such platforms are better adapted or better suited in the long run, and which will make more sense for the business. And what is the most important factor? I mean, when you go for chatbots, I know a very large insurance player who has tried automating their entire insurance support for a whole 1 year. But at the end of it, they launched something which didn't work and they had to pull it down. So, what is most important? I mean, do you look at the cost saving, or do you want to do it internally, or you want to go by the cheapest available, or something which is quick and dirty? Most important thing is it's important to take a holistic view. So, you want to get the customer engagement up on WhatsApp or any other channel. How quickly can you do that? Can someone give you a ready made, reliable, and dependable solution? That is more important. There is a very huge hidden cost in the time it takes to go to market, and how much of time and cost you want to spend in making it happen. What is the total cost of ownership? How many resources you want to allocate? Do you want to maintain the server infrastructure yourself, and you want to retrain the bot every time? So this is all indirect and direct costs put together. So those are the most important factors for a business, which are essentially related to the capabilities of the conversational AI platform you are selecting. So time to market is a very significant cost of business. And now coming to some process of getting on board with WhatsApp bots, you need a Facebook Business Manager account, which is verified. I mean, there's a process of verification. You can have a Facebook account which is not verified also. But if you want to have a business API enabled, you need to get it verified on Facebook itself. The process is laid out. And we help our clients to go through all that process. In fact, we do everything for them, except that we use their email IDs or we keep prompting them when they have to do something themselves. And typically, they need a Facebook paying account. If you already have advertised or given your credit card details or something on the Facebook, that is good enough. If not, before the API is active and you are able to use the bot and send messages to the clients, you need a paying account enabled. That doesn't mean you are paying. It's just the account should be enabled. So your GST and all, etc., should be validated. Excuse me. And then WhatsApp doesn't deal with businesses which are less than 1 million interactions per month. So that makes it difficult for most businesses. So they deal with third parties. So there are a few third parties. We are a reseller for WhatsApp with another third party. So they have authorized vendors across, and you can only get the WhatsApp Business API through them. So then you have to apply for that through one of people like us or one of the other third-party vendors. Then you have to associate your WhatsApp business number with that third-party vendor. Now, this process is not entirely streamlined by WhatsApp yet, because you go through the Facebook channel, and then Facebook does everything about your business profile and the validations, etc. Then it goes and connects the WhatsApp business number with your name. I am expecting that during the first quarter of next year, 2021, these things will be more streamlined. But as of now, it's a cumbersome process which takes at least 2 weeks. Then, in most cases, the third party will provide you an alternative number which is mapped to your WhatsApp business number. You may have to buy it, or they can give you a certain free number depending on the whole commercial way the third party is doing business with you. And then your template messages, if you remember, we said that you can't send the media messages, you can't send any promotional messages. You can send only certain notifications alerts. For those things, you have to, the WhatsApp calls it templated messages. You have to get these templated messages approved, pre-approved by WhatsApp as the format. And it's strange that even if you get a message approved, and even if you miss a comma or a period or a hyphen, it gets blocked because it's actually matching the string. It's not using any intelligent algorithm to understand whether your templated message, the approved message, and the actual message are differing. It is using the entire string match. So even a full stop or a comma missing will get your message blocked. I mean, it won't get delivered. And once you do all these things, there can be delays, untold delays at every step, one day either from Facebook or WhatsApp. So, I mean, you just go with the flow. As of now, that is how dealing with WhatsApp and Facebook is. I think because the integration of the back-end systems hasn't been completed yet. I hope that soon in the next year's first quarter, this all will be streamlined and it will be much easier or better to do business with WhatsApp. And having said that,
Vamsi, excuse me, there's a question from Gaurav.
Yeah.
The question,
Gaurav.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you'll ask. So I just posted it, Vamsi. I just want to understand that the WhatsApp Business API has to go through the entire review process and approval process similarly to a dev app application like a Facebook platform. Is the review process similar, or is it different?
The DevOps review process, I'm not sure. Here, what's happening is, I'll just tell you the crux of this process. First, they want to establish that you are a genuine business and you are not creating a fake business. So they look at your ROC, your company verification, etc. That is what the Facebook process is. Then you get your business manager's account verified. So that will take about 3-4 days, right? Once you submit the documents, and if there is something missing or they don't find it right, they'll take a day to get back, etc. Then a paying account is required to get your GST, and in case some charges are there, you need a running account with them, right? So that is why they require that. And once they establish that, they have to, that process is done by Facebook, but they have to export that verification to WhatsApp. So now they will give that WhatsApp Business API to a third party. Now the third party has to make sure that what is there on the Facebook, which is approved, and your WhatsApp number are actually linked, and then they will verify that, and they say that, okay, you are good to go now, right? And then that number, your WhatsApp business number, should be able to send messages from the third party gateway, right? So they either give the mapped alternative number or they enable that. Most of the third parties right now give an alternative number. I don't know anyone who is using the direct WhatsApp number. So depending on their commercial structure, either they will ask you to pay for that number or they just ask you to pay for the API. Now, when you're doing a WhatsApp API, WhatsApp is taking certain charge, which you can find on WhatsApp pricing if you go there, and then the third party vendor is giving some other, topping it up with a little bit for themselves. Does that answer your question, Gaurav?
It does. Thank you, Vamsi.
Yeah. Any questions at this stage before I move on to conversational AI? A few points about conversational AI. Okay, so let me go on. If there is anybody, any question, we can address it later also, or you just raise your hand or give a shout. Now, about some things we should know about conversational AI and versus templated bots. Conversational AI platform is not made for any specific process. Like you don't have a sales bot, support bot, say telecom bot or a banking bot, fintech bot. You won't have such things. You just have a conversational AI platform which you can train and use for any kind of application. Such kind of platform evolves with the changing needs because business processes evolve. Today you do in sales, tomorrow you want to do in support. That doesn't mean you can put two bots. Because the people who are accessing, for example, people are accessing your Facebook, they will expect the sales as well as the customer support to be there. If all that you have to do is before giving the support, you have to validate if the person is an existing customer or not. So a conversational AI actually adapts because it will put all these processes into one interface. You can't have multiple bots for multiple processes at a multiple channels. So apart from that, yeah, as I was saying, it should be the same kind of interaction or the conversational design should be doable across different channels which you would like to use. Be it be web, Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, mobile app, even SMS. Email also you can do, but email format is slightly different because the kind of language we expect in email is little formal, and the kind of response they expect back is also formal, right? And customer experience should be good. Otherwise, there are bots who will just ask for your email and phone number, and they say we'll get back to you. I mean, there's no purpose of keeping such things. It's better not to keep. You may just as well leave a form there for contact. And conversational AI, as I said, is flexible and robust on account of all these things. When you look at templated bots, whenever you're going for a WhatsApp bot or any bot, try to understand if it is templated or it's a conversational AI platform is there, because that will make a lot of difference in how you implement and how what your customers get out of it. Templated bots, as I was saying, they are made for specific processes. This is what used to happen 5-6 years before, and AI has been evolving very rapidly. Even what is there last year is different from what we have today, right? And any changes in a templated bot is more like changing a software application, right? It's not just like changing a conversational design or training the bot. And omni-channel like experience, creating such an experience will get very cumbersome because every time you have to do it separately, right? And customer engagement will be limited because if a customer is going out of the decision tree, how many cases can you enumerate? If the customer discussion goes little bit outside the enumeration, the bot will fail. And it's rigid and cumbersome. So that's very interesting to say. All men may be equal, but not all bots are equal. We just have to understand what kind of bot we are trying to work with or adapt. How does conversational AI work? It makes a little bit of sense. Many of you may know these things, but for the benefit of doubt, I think we can go through that once. So this is applicable whether you go to Alexa or Google Dialogflow, Google Assistant, everything works on the same framework. The user speaks, which is either into your smart speaker or your device, phone, etc., or into your computer. The speech is translated to text, which is text transcript, right? And that is passed down to the NLP, natural language processing or natural language understanding engine. Natural language understanding as a limited function, natural language processing as a broader function of the same thing. What it essentially does is it converts our natural artistic grammar laden language to a machine readable format. That's all the job it does. And that understanding it passes in a machine readable format to the computer or the machine, right? There we have a dialogue management engine. This dialogue management engine sorts out, understands the context, understands what should be done. Is it a service requirement, or is it just a general query, or is it something like you have to stop conversing, or does the customer actually ask to be connected to someone else? If the customer says, connect me to your call center, what should I do? All these processes and this intelligence of what bot should respond is there in dialogue management. It is like training a customer service executive or a front office receptionist, giving them a spiel and say, if this guy is asking about this, tell this. If the guy is asking about this, go there, do this, etc. That is all done here in the dialogue management. Then from this, the bot knows what to do and what to say, and it speaks. And that will go back to the user. This is the broad structure, and whenever we see green, that is where we use here, here, and here is where we use machine learning and AI, right? And where true voice is, this speech to text conversion, we haven't made our own system yet. We are using third parties like Google, DeepSense, and anything, whatever is required and whatever fits the use case. But the rest of entire thing is our own platform. And our own dialogue management is pretty advanced, and this is what we are in the process of patenting. And then we also have some natural language generation algorithms, which we use for machine training, which is also to be patented. We are in the process of filing. Now, some final points, which we touched earlier also, just to retouch upon them. Contextual awareness, think about whenever you're adapting any bot, just think or ask them, try to understand, can they give you contextual awareness? Can they understand pronouns? Can they actually deliver services like booking a cab? One thing is, for example, in Siri, you can't book a cab. You can say you search for something, it will search. It's a one-layered interaction. It is like a Siri can operate the mobile phone for you or IoT devices, but it can't give you like a service like a cab, book a cab, or a service like a financial consulting. It can't do that whole automation, right? It is only actually transferring the speech to text and doing one layer of picking up something and doing it. And multiple expressions. So there are bots which say that select from the above. Are you looking for home loan? Do you want to apply for credit card? Are you an existing customer? You give options. I mean, expression, the customer expects to speak in his own language, in his or her own language. That is a conversational bot. Otherwise, if they have to select from a menu of limited options, then what is the conversation in it? They might as well do it on the website itself or on the mobile app in a rich GUI interface. And contextual promotions, I mean, contextual discussion, contextual promotion. If the customer is talking about X, can you share some material? You answer about the query, but can you also share some material about X itself and not a general promotional material? So, can you understand the context and can you send context aware the promotions? Another important thing is make and buy. These are some things which I discuss with clients mostly. So I thought I'll share because majority of you who have joined this may be looking forward to going on the conversational AI route or the bot route to support your customer engagement. So I thought I would share some of the points in these aspects also. When you're buying, actually, if you're buying from a good product, the company is going to do specialized product development, R&D, and its space is rapidly evolving. We took a few many years. I have been working in NLP and speech for now almost a decade, right? 8-9 years. So you leverage that kind of specialization. And the risk of delivery is outsourced. For example, we'll give you a working bot within 2 weeks if it is a new domain, 1 or 2 weeks. That is only for the actual conversational bot without any other peripheral integrations, etc., or customizations. But when you do it internally, that risk of delivery is yours, right? I hope most of you understand what I mean. And time to market is a consideration. And the amount of the bandwidth which absorbs from the management and your core functions is also an important consideration. Economies of scale, because it is particularly important when we invest in the product and when we set up the infrastructure, because the kind of server infrastructure AI bots require is little heavy. Like typically, that's how Google Assist works, right? They have a server infrastructure and it's not cheap. And low total cost of ownership, usually, if you actually buy, which is counterintuitive, but I think we are all into business. If you think little critically, I think that is what you will arrive at. When you're depending on third-party APIs. So your team may not be working. You need to get one guy who is into conversational AI and he will use a third-party API like a Watson API or a Google API and he will make something but still he is using a third-party API. That's a black box for you. There is a risk of delivery, right? And when you want to change it or do any customization, I mean, it's an API. What can you do? I mean, whatever it allows, you have to weave your process around it. Right? And there's a high TCO, which is corollary to when we are saying low TCO on the buy side. If you have really large scale, like a very big bank, or if you're like an Amazon, then that is when it makes sense to make your own conversational AI. Otherwise, the best thing is to buy from a reliable player. Buy is, it's pay per use, right? Buy is not really buy, unless you want to have it behind your firewall, which some banks and all do. Then another little comparison for the context is original IP versus third-party service. Original IP gives you reliability, flexibility, customization. It evolves with the business, and it is dependable. Right? We have our own original IP except for the speech. Now, whenever we are using a third-party API, which is related to make or buy decision, or even if you are taking it from another party, which is using another party's API, right? Which is more like a service provider. Even that case, it is a black box. You have to weave your processes around the capability of the software, and customizations will be very expensive, if at all possible. And self-serve products can absorb a lot of indirect costs and bandwidth. And there's a risk of delivering poor customer experience also. Right? That is what I have to say about conversational AI in its general form. Now we will leave it for a few minutes for any questions. After that, I will give you one quick summary of TrueVoice conversational AI, which is our platform. That will take just a couple of minutes.
Sir, my name is Amog.
Hi, Amog.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for this great, insightful session. So
My pleasure.
I have a couple of questions. So if you go to the first slide where you were showing the diagrammatic structure of how the conversational AI works. Yeah,
This one?
yeah. So there should be more end layer to it, right? Which is text to speech, correct?
Yeah, text to speech. Yeah, text to speech is something you can put here. Okay. When the bot speaks, like speech to text, and you can have a text to speech here. Yeah, you're correct. I mean, but text to speech is not really challenging as such. You just have many synthetic voices. You input your text into that, and that automatically reads out, and you get an Indian female, Indian Punjabi female, Indian, I mean, posh female or Brit accent, etc., etc.
Yes.
Right. So that is not so challenging, but still you are correct. It should be put somewhere. But this is a more challenging thing, speech to text.
Correct. Second thing, I have question on the next slide. Multiple expressions. So multiple expressions, like for example, let's assume there is a bot who is helping a customer to modify his baggage in a flight. Okay. So the bot now says that what type of baggage do you want to add? Do you want to add a checked-in baggage? Do you want to add a cabin baggage, or do you want to add equipment baggage? So now let's say a customer says that I want to, there are many PNCs over here. He can say either one, or he can say first and third, he can say second and third, or he can say first, second, third, right? So over here, that in our bot builder, or where we are building our bot, right? So over there we will have like only 3 nodes. How do you at this place, how do you combine multiple expressions? Like, will you build all such permutations and combination at that particular node inside your bot builder, or how do you manage multiple expressions at such a place?
Yeah, so that's an important question. Amog, did you come little later into the presentation?
No, I am from the starting.
Yeah, because the whole thing is there is no node, there is no permutation combination in this bot. This is the kind of templated bot or a decision tree kind of bot, semi-automated bot. This is are not at all that kind of framework. So what this bot does is, when the customer says this baggage or that baggage, you ask him, okay, the customer says something about the baggage. So the bot understands about the baggage, and if you are expecting 3-4 options, you can show those options. But the customer can say, without selecting any option, he may say, make it, make it the, what is that, the check-in baggage. Or he may say that I want, there is a highly sensitive item. So there is nothing like templated there. So whatever the customer says, the bot will try to understand it. That is where the natural language processing comes.
How will you configure this in your non-templated bot builder also? How should we configure it over at that place?
You don't configure it.
Okay.
That's what, you don't configure, you just machine train. For example, you are using Alexa, right? Or you are using Google Assist. Google Assist performs well. So Google Assist doesn't, what did you use? What word you use? You don't configure it. You just machine train it with more examples. For example, I expect customers to say, make it hand baggage. I expect customers to say, I want hand baggage. The customers may say, maybe hand baggage. Customers may say, hand baggage kar do. All these things, even different languages, I can train it. So I just have to know what kind of different expressions the customer can give, and I train it. And it's not necessary that the bot is picking up from only those given expressions. The bot is learning from those expressions. It can understand something beyond newer forms of expressions also. Though it is not 100% accurate, it can still understand. You need not configure it. Now, once that part is done, right, I extract whatever you want to say or your customer wants to say, right? Now, to configure, I don't need to do anything because I'll just pass this to here.
Yeah.
And this you think about like a meta configuration management tool of all dialogues, right? So here I understand whatever you are saying in its own essence. It's not whether you can select a button, it's easy to understand. You don't select a button, you say wait for a minute, or you have your own kind of expression. As far as it is not very outlier, the bot still understands it because we will train it. So once that is done, it is passed on to dialogue management, and every configuration of dialogue, what to be done, happens here.
Okay.
Now, if you want to build any service here, like go to your CRM, put a support request and get that back and give it to the customer, that is something you have to build that extra process to the dialogue management. But the dialogue management will understand, okay, a service is being expected, so let me invoke that service function. Now the service function will go to the CRM and do the needful and come back to the dialogue management and say, I'm done with this, boss, now you can take over. Then the dialogue management will take your customer support request number and that will relay it back.
Mhm.
So whatever configuration you're saying is happening in this. This is where Google Dialogflow is also very effective, and I think we are similar or comparable to Google Dialogflow in this aspect, which is what makes our platform stronger.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you so
Yeah?
much.
Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Vamsi, this is Ravi.
Yeah, hi Ravi.
This was very interesting, and I'm currently working in a similar area. We're rolling out bots, and they're all exactly like you showed us, templatized bots, at least for the time being.
Yeah.
So, Vamsi, if you can throw some light on this, suppose organization starts with a templatized bot, okay, and then wants a roadmap to gradually evolve into a conversational bot. How do they go about it?
I mean, you have to change the platform. Either you adopt something like Google Dialogflow or someone like us. There are few proper conversational AI platforms across the globe. So you just have to shift yourself from the existing bot to the other platform.
Okay.
Yeah, because template you can't put this conversational. In a conversational platform, you can put a templated bot,
Right.
but not the other way around.
Okay. No, I got it because an idea. If you try to start with a template, if you said a template can be mimicked by a conversational bot, that could be done in the starting point and move away from the templatized to the to your intelligent bot. And further after that, it will be trained with every transaction.
Yeah. I mean, the conversational AI can do that. You can put templates, as like I showed you. You can use the buttons. I just showed you some screenshots. There are some customers also which are online. You can check. For a template, you can use these kind of buttons. But right now, these bots also function. See here, instead of finding mutual fund here, Fintosh has given these options. But someone can type, find me a good mutual fund.
Right.
That takes. So you want to do away with that, it can still work with this. But the use case is, if you are going there, you can as well do this. For training this, that is where it's a significant bottleneck for many businesses. Where how do I train the bot? Because the training is never ending. You don't need to train with us. We will train your bot and we'll give you something which is working within a couple of weeks, 1 week or 2 weeks. That is for a new domain and new process. An existing one, this is the real estate, this is finance, etc. You will just give you in a couple of days. Now, how we do that is we have a natural language generation algorithm. we create a synthetic data, bunch loads of data within a day, which again we feed it back to the bot where it trains itself. I mean, it learns, the machine training is done. For the machine training, we generate synthetic data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is also a proprietary algorithm, which is also to be, I mean, in the process of doing patents.
Sir, do you also take some sample expressions from the client which you are managing? Like how do you know how? Because what I understand is to train the AI, you need to feed something into it, right?
Correct. You need a lot of feeding. So if the customers have training data, we use it. Even if they don't, for example, we have done for yoga, right? They have never used chatbot, so they don't have training data.
Mhm.
So we used our natural language generation module. We created synthetic data. Then we fed it back to the bot to train itself. And now we are generating real chat data, right? And now we can use this data to retrain it and retrain it.
And does your retraining is manual or is it automatic?
Automated in the sense you have to still impute it. I mean, it's not that it is, you have to run a loop.
Self-learning.
Because see, automation in that actually won't work so effectively because there is still some human intervention or interpretation required, like domain modeling, like some expressions. You still want to do a supervised kind of training, right? So you want to give the right input to the. Sometimes somebody is messing around with the bot, right? And that may actually go into the training. So you don't want to do that. So still, I mean, we just look at that, we interpret it, and we retrain it as a batch wise.
And do you employ your people to do that, or do you ask client to do that?
We'll just do it. I mean, we do it very quickly. If the client finds something that this expression is wrongly understood, or the machine learning is not right here, or giving a wrong kind of action, that feedback we take. But we do the training and everything else.
One last question, sir. I'm asking many questions, but I am actually into this field and it's very insightful. If you allow just one last question, can I ask?
Yeah, please. But Amok, what you are using a bot or you make bots?
I work for a company and I am into this domain. I am making bots from last 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask that in the second screenshot, if a person says that I want to have a life insurance plan and find investment funds, like he chooses two options. How do you do it?
I mean, we can do one by one. So that intelligence is there in our bot.
Okay, and how do you get it for like the intent which is caught with more confidence? Do you take that path, something like that?
No, I mean, you can use multiple intents and multiple entities and give a layered dialogue. We can do that. We haven't rolled it yet because nobody has asked, but our dialogue management can do that. For example, we can just say, okay, let me talk about life insurance first. Now, when it is finished, you can ask a confirmation question. Are you done with this? Shall we go to now investments? That kind of interaction can be done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But what kind of platform do you use in your when you make a bot, Amok?
Actually, I work for Sprinkler, sir.
Which one?
Sprinkler. You might have heard.
Okay, but you use any third-party platform for all this, or
our own?
Okay.
Own built, own AI, similar to yours, like exactly similar to yours. But I just wanted to understand, like these are some things which I find it difficult, like how to because like multiple selections and all.
Yeah. I mean, we've also figured out and addressed these things over a period of time. How do you spell it? Sprinklers.
SPRINKLR.
Okay. So, any more questions? Any more questions, guys? Anyone?
Obviously, this Gaurav, this is just a request. I maybe would want to connect later with you, or anyone can arrange a meeting. I'm looking for a speech to text solution for my organization. We currently use NICE, and we've also met Unifor. But I'd be looking forward to meeting you if in case we can have a demo or understand the aspects of what can you offer from a speech to text solution standpoint.
Okay. Do you have a lot of speech data or to train, or you are looking for something off the shelf?
We're looking for something official.
Okay, Gaurav, I will connect to you. I mean, it's easy because I will get your registration details and all.
Definitely.
I can connect back to
Thank you so much.
you. Okay. And so quickly about True Voice. So a few quick facts. We provide end-to-end customer management, starting from promotional messages if you have leads or if you have your past customers. Any handle you can reach to, we do the promotions and engagements there, which is push notifications kind of thing. And we have workarounds for WhatsApp limitations also, which we are using right now with some of our clients. And we do AI bots. We also provide live chat because when we do AI bots, many customers require a layered approach. When someone wants to talk to a human being, we should have a channel open. So our live chat software also has a live chat queue where you can put like a call center, your people, and it will do the load management and distribution of incoming traffic. And you can have live chat without AI bot also, or as a hybrid also. We use voice bots with third-party API as of now for the speech to text, and blended conversations is the same thing. I mean, when you put them together, it's a blended conversation, AI plus live chat. And we use our own conversational platform with our patentable patent in the process of dialogue management and natural language generation algorithms. And we provide bearing the limitations of each channel, we provide omni-channel experience across any platform and any domain, any process. It's IoT capable. We can operate like Alexa and all if you have an open source IoT chip enabled in your devices. And we provide rapid deployment. And we are also getting our own smart speakers soon. We are in the testing stage. So we may not do any B2C like Alexa or Google Mini, but we may do B2B smart speaker solutions in a few months' time. That's quick fact about us. And what I am excited or we are excited is building a original platform. And that's what we do. That's what I have. And if there are no further questions, we can. And feel free to reach out to me, anyone, for any of your requirements, or you can refer for any of your clients or partners, etc.
Sir, how should we reach out to you through LinkedIn?
You can reach out to me truevoice.ai, vamsi@truevoice.ai. Otherwise, this will be. You registered, right? I will send a follow-up note to all of you. Then you can reach out to me.
Thank you so much.
Otherwise, I'm on LinkedIn, Vamsi Krishna KV.
Yeah, I already said that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So if that is all, I think.
Guys, if you have any questions, I think please do mail us.
No more questions. This was very, very interesting, eye-opening. A lot of things to think about.
Yeah.
I'm glad, Ravi. Thanks for the feedback. I hope everyone also enjoyed and found the the contents of the presentation very interesting. We will send you an email with the details of the speaker, and also the recorded YouTube video link also will be live in 2 days. We'll try to do it as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Vamsi, for the very nice presentation and summing up the complex topic in a very understandable and easy manner. Look forward for more such presentations in the future. Thank you guys for attending, and it has been a pleasure to have organized this. And I think that would be all.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. Thanks, everybody. Ravi, Amog, Gaurav, and others were there. And Aso and Sandeep for arranging this. Thanks, all.
Yeah, Vamsi, welcome, and yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.